We're here today to talk about the upcoming season of the Northbrook Symphony Orchestra, the season that have already started because the first event is already in the books.
Yes, we had our first concert was for children and families, so that had to go at the same time schools are coming in before the kids get too busy. So we started with the Mozart Magnificent Voyage. That was August 24th. It was a great concert and there were some activities for the kids outside. It was a lot of fun.
That's more than a concert.
Oh yeah.
You know, there are actors on stage, in costumes, they tell a story.
Yeah.
Tell us, what is it exactly?
It's basically an introduction to classical, introduction of classical music to people who never heard about it. And I'll tell you a really fun story that was told to me by Paul Pimenta, the director of Classical Kids, who I love working with. He's great. Both him and I share the passion of getting music to children and to people who are not introduced to it yet. But it's more of a mission to him because that's his whole organization is Classical Kids Live.
Yeah.
So Paul, one time he remembers, it was they travel around the world to perform the show with major symphonies. There was one time there's a grandpa walking out of the concert with his two grandchildren, and Paul was passing by. Of course, he doesn't know Paul is the director, and he was telling the children, "Oh, I guess I like classical music after all." So it's even no matter what your age is, these shows are really a fantastic introduction to classical music, and it's fun, informative. It's a story, a lot of theatrical lighting. We used to, before the pandemic, we used to take it to schools and perform it to kids in their school. Even when they don't have stage, we do it in the gym. And it was always amazing to work with Paul to present these, but I think we're going to bring that back at some point soon.
That's part of the mission of Northbrook Symphony Orchestra, to kind of propagate the classical music to the youngest generation, and people of certain age have free access to all your shows, right? Absolutely.
Anybody under 18 years old, they get a complimentary ticket or complimentary subscription.
Wonderful.
So this is I think we have been doing this for more than 10 years or 15 years now, I should say.
Yeah, and it's right there in our backyard. So really, by all means, go out, pick one or pick all of those concerts. So let's go through what's remaining on the calendar. Let's start on October 5th, Comfortably Classical.
Comfortably Classical will be Robert Chen. He's our artistic creative partner. And Robert will lead and perform at the same time. And the guest artist for the concert is Will Walter, the principal oboist from the Chicago Symphony. He will perform the Mozart Oboe Concerto, C major. And Robert will be performing the Mozart Turkish Symphony No. 5.
You're going to love it.
Lovely piece. And also on the program is the
Haydn Farewell
Symphony by Haydn, which is a really fun, unusual symphony. And I know it's from the back in the day, but it's still an astonishing story to anybody who hears it and sees the performance.
Yeah, Haydn was a music director at Count Esterházy in Austro-Hungary, in Hungary.
Correct.
And so he was a tenured musician. All the musicians had to spend
they had to stay, they had to stay the summer there, and it was like a residency, and they were away from their families.
And they wanted to go back to those families.
Yeah, and the traveling was not that easy at that time. So, and they were coming from different places, and I mean, you know the story, but
tell it.
The point. Well, of course, everybody was shy to their paid musicians. They were shy to. And then Haydn wrote the Farewell Symphony that every musician, they blow their candle and they move from the stage one by one till only two violins playing remaining on the stage. So basically people are, seeing the musicians leaving the stage one by one, blowing the candle in a hidden message to Esterházy, to Prince Esterházy, that please let these people go.
It was the people, let us go.
Yeah, and he was actually very humored by it, and he actually decided to let them go after this, and it was a very clever way of Haydn to definitely a genius, not just in music, but in human communication as well.
I never heard it live, because I don't want to hear the recording. I want to see it as a spectacle, because it is a spectacle.
Absolutely.
And it's best witnessed live. So that could be one of the very few opportunities to actually witness that, that piece.
I want to tell you, in fact, I think about music, all music like this. A recording is never the same as live music, because a recording is a documentation of or an archival moment of something that happened at a certain point in time. But live music, you're reacting to the temperature in the room, the smells, the lights, the feeling, crowdedness, and what I mean by temperature, like actual temperature. That makes a difference. A player who's sweating while they're playing is different than a player that's cold, and it changes the music. And also the day and the mood and how you receive it based on what you went through that day, and how the performer is performing it based on what they went through that day. If they had a fight with their best friend, it's not going to be the same
That's going to be reflected in the music.
And if the conductor has a little bit of a headache, it's not going to be the same performance. You see what I mean? So I think really music is, when we say music is live, that's part of it. It engages with the immediate feelings of the moment that music is being performed, and that's, I think, the most valuable.
That's going to be evident in these concerts, especially because, for example, Robert Chen will be performing and leading.
Correct.
So it's going to be a great opportunity to see all those interactions between musicians, all those little movements, and and you know it firsthand. Every musician reacts and interacts differently. Somebody's going to still sit quietly and almost any movement. Other people will be swinging their entire bodies uncontrollably.
Well, I mean, and also when you have somebody like a great artist like Robert Chen, people love to work with him, and he's such a wonderful musician. So the communication, you see the silent communication happening there without a lot of
tiny motion.
Yeah, even when we rehearse with him, he really doesn't have to verbalize much, because he's giving everything, and the communication is it's something I notice a lot with good artists. The need for verbal communication is not as important. Yeah, I mean, sometimes of course it's necessary, but you can get a lot of communication signals only through body language and musical gestures, etc.
Yeah, and Mr. Robert Chen was a great addition to the Northbrook Symphony Orchestra. Let's talk about him for a moment. He's one of the best violinists, not just in Chicago, in the world.
Yeah.
What does he mean to the orchestra?
I mean, let's talk about him for a second. To get the position of being Chicago Symphony concertmaster, that's one of the top positions for violin in the entire world.
Yeah.
So this is not a small thing, and it's not only about how good of a violinist you are. It's about how good of I want to say this right. You become an institution within yourself, because you are a leader, you are a representation, you are a musician, of course, you are a violinist, and you are a communicator between the conductor and the orchestra, and there are lots of responsibilities that there is no time to talk about. Look up to him, and they look for him for leadership, not in a business sense, but actually in a musical sense too. And Robert has only been showing his absolute best to the Northbrook Symphony. So the way he works with us is the exact same way he works with the Chicago Symphony. He's completely genuine, no lowering of standards whatsoever, because we never lower our standards. He understands that the best music comes from the best effort, usually. The level of technique can vary. Maybe you could argue which orchestra is better, the Chicago Symphony or the Cleveland Orchestra. You could argue that. But when you go to both, you definitely hear a fingerprint of each orchestra, how their music is very special, their music making is very special. So when Robert comes to us, all he does is help us bring our fingerprint, how the Northbrook Symphony is. Yes, we're not the Chicago Symphony, of course, but also the Chicago Symphony is not the Northbrook Symphony.
Exactly.
So we're very proud of that. In a way, competition in music is nonsense. I think it's all about character, or the character that you represent, and it's all about how special what you're
being genuine,
being genuine, and how special what you're. So it's really not about competition. It's about the word I was looking for was it's not individuality.
Like the identity, right?
Identity, or I was looking for. There was another word that just skipped my mind, but it aligns with fingerprint, meaning that you don't have to be the best. You just have to be different. The difference or the distinction.
Yeah.
How distinct you are in your music making.
Awesome. And Mr. Chen, let's stick to him for a little while more. I still remember concerts that he did with his family.
Yes.
Because it's not just him, it's a family of wonderful musicians. And, and again, they were featured at the Northbrook Symphony Orchestra.
They were. During the pandemic, it was the first time we were able to go record. We had time limits and we had the space limit where everybody can sit. Him and his family quartet, they came and they performed with us Elgar's introduction and Allegro, and it was one of the best experiences we have. Wow. We had to finish the whole thing in 3 hours. Yeah, and it was done, and it was a beautiful presentation. So I think we still have the recording of that. We play it every once in a while, but I'm looking forward to having them come back and do something else with us. I think that would be a fantastic.
Awesome. So that's the first concert, Sunday, October 5th. Concert started at 4 p.m. Let's move on to January and the second concert, the Titan. And then here we refer to Mahler, right?
Yes.
What's going to be played?
Only one piece, the Mahler First Symphony, which is about an hour long piece, but totally worth every moment of it. Mahler's First Symphony was really a pillar in music for many reasons. Mahler's music in general was a step forward from what came before it, and was a step forward that led the way to other composers around that time, actually, and moving on. And Mahler himself was influenced by a lot of his contemporaries. But the point was that he was the one that was able to shape things and had the tools to present and shape things in a way that was more accessible to audience and to classical music lovers. His identity is definitely distinct in music.
He pushed the music forward.
He pushed the music forward, and he did things with the tonality. I mean, that's a big topic, but regarding the tonality, he knew how to push and when to push. And it was all very well calculated. Plus, there are things he did that were really radical in the sense, like, for example, in the score, any other composer, for the most part, before Mahler would write 40, 40, 40. The dynamic was vertical. So all instruments play
the same thing.
Strong at the same time, soft at the same time, crescendo at the same time. He never did that. He would have the clarinet play fortissimo, like very strong, and the strings play pianissimo. And I thought to my mind, maybe he was a frustrated conductor, he could not hear the clarinet, so he just wrote that dynamic. But it was actually, and this was a comment made by Daniel Barenboim at some point, he thought this was not really just a superficial gesture, it was more of a search for a new color. Because when you hear something loud and something soft, you don't only get a clash of color, you get a clash of characters.
Yeah, the texture is totally
different. So and it's in a way, excuse me, it shocks you because like, is this soft or loud? It's both at the same time.
And that makes your job as a conductor that much harder.
Yes, because you gotta make sure people are playing soft, you gotta make sure people are playing loud at the same time. I'll tell you a funny story where there was one time when Zubin Mehta watched Barenboim conducting something, and the TV had no sound, it was only picture. And Barenboim was going really strong, and the violins under him, they were playing that much. And then Zubin Mehta told him, he said, I knew when I saw this that you were conducting Mahler. Because you were probably conducting something very loud in the woodwinds, and the violins are supposed to play very soft. So this is one of the things I remember, but it really is, like you said, people have to be aware that not all the gestures are for everybody. And the conductor has to communicate that, I mean, everything is of course in the score, but people have to understand what is for them, what's not.
The division, yeah. It's one piece, but there's going to be a surprise at the end of the concert.
Yes, it's actually in the beginning.
At the beginning?
Concert. Yes.
Awesome.
Before we do the symphony, it's one work. Robbie Ellis, WFMT announcer, who was just announced as the new general manager.
Also new addition to Northbrook Symphony.
Yes, he's wonderful. Robbie, before even that came about, that whole thing of him being the general manager, I did a program called Classical Comedy with him. Mm-hmm. This was right before the pandemic. We did it at the Paul, I think it was August of 2019. And we did a whole performance of him singing comedy songs with a full orchestra. Fantastic. Most of it is online. You can see it if you go on YouTube. And we decided to do some comedy songs that are related to Mahler and Elma, and you know, I don't want to give it up, but it's definitely going to be a surprise. And it's not a lot of time, about 12 minutes, I think, 12, awesome. 13 minutes of that. A lot of fun, just eases the seriousness of the concert, because the Mahler first is such a strong symphony.
You're mixing fire and ice.
First yes, exactly.
It's going to be super funny, then it's going to get super serious and technical.
Well, we're following Mahler's lead, since he does the radical dynamics at the same time.
You do it on a different scale.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's going to be January 11th.
Yes.
Also Sunday, also at 4 o'clock, at 4 p.m. Moving on, February 22, my favorite piece of music, I think the piece of music that everybody knows, Vivaldi's Four Seasons.
Four Seasons, yes. This is, I don't know if I need to say anything about the Four Seasons. Mm-hmm. It speaks for itself. In fact, anytime we talk about the Four Seasons, we serve it no justice, because it's just better to not say anything and listen to this wonderful music, alive for almost 300 years now. It's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. But what we can talk about is our soloist, Ilya Kaller, because mm-hmm. he is coming. I've done this with Mr. Kaller, I think it was 2015 or 16. We did it in the Art Institute of Chicago. And we had a full house, sold out. And it was a fantastic performance. Yeah. And was one of the highlights. It was with Oistrakh, not with Northbrook. Mm-hmm. I was not music director for Northbrook, but it was one of the highlights of my life. So when we were thinking about doing the Four Seasons again, I thought it has to be Ilya Kaller.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's coming to town especially for that concert.
Four Seasons is a series of 4 violin concertos. So that soloist is super important.
Oh, yeah,
that person has an ability to transform this piece whatever direction he or she wants.
And he is, I mean, Ilya Kaller is a legend. He's, I'm sure you know, he's first prize winner of Sibelius, Tchaikovsky, and Paganini competitions. He's the first violinist in history of music to win these three competitions. Paganini, Sibelius, and Tchaikovsky. First, that just doesn't happen.
Do you know what he's playing on, what instrument?
I think he plays a contemporary instrument. I believe it's Joseph Curtin. I think his point is that I make the sound, not the violin, but the violin is excellent. But also, I think he did have, I believe, an Amati instrument for a couple of years from the Stradivari Society. But I believe he's back to playing his Joseph Curtin violin. Yeah, it's a wonderful.
Because usually those violinists, they kind of cling to their own instrument and create this special bond and say, yeah, I can play that well. Because of
it. And it could be, I mean, I'm sure he tried things, but it's really what you identify with and where you find the voice that speaks to you. I have seen, and I cannot say a lot, but a number of violinists who are offered expensive instruments, and they try them, they take them because they're nice old Italian instruments, but the instruments are not that good.
Wow.
It's not that they're not that good. They don't match the playing character of the violinist.
And you know what you're talking about because you're a violinist yourself.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. And I mean, I never played on an old Italian instrument for a long time. I have played Guarneris and I've played Strads, but that was momentary thing, never for an extended period of time. But if you're going to be married to a violin, it has to carry your voice and it has to match your way of playing, basically, the characteristic of playing.
Great. So we covered Ilya Kaller, the soloist. What's going to be behind him? Because very often we have an opportunity to listen to Four Seasons with like a string quartet.
Yeah.
That's not what you have in mind for this.
No, we have actually a wonderful group. Of course, it's a smaller orchestra with strings only. And then we'll have the harpsichord as well.
That was my main question.
Yeah. Yes.
So there's going to be a harpsichord.
There's going to be a
basso
harpsichord.
continuo.
Yes, basso continuo, because I have done it before without the harpsichord.
And it's not the same.
It's not the same, and I like them both actually. I don't have. See, the one limitation, if you want to call it a limitation, that the harpsichord has that you could control when you don't have the harpsichord is the volume. The harpsichord does not control volume.
Yeah,
it plucks when it's not a keyboard, or is a keyboard, but
no
it's not
dynamics.
hammers. Yeah, so the way it plucks the strings is the same. So with the orchestra goes, so at some moment you hear the harpsichord and
sometimes
then
it disappears. That's true.
Yeah, but that's okay because even that adds to the color. So when it's softer, it's like more raw sound. This is beautiful, but it depends on how you think of it.
And that piece does not require any conducting.
No, actually it does. It is done without conductors at times, but usually when I do it,
And you will be there.
I'll be conducting.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's going to be your version, yours and Elias.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I try to be the contact point between him and the orchestra.
Perfect. Yeah. So, and again, from my perspective, this is also another fantastic opportunity to bring young generation.
Absolutely.
There is so many well-recognizable tunes that people know, the melodies that are engraved in our modern society, that if you want to introduce a young generation to classical music, that's a great opportunity to start. People will love it.
And when they hear a familiar tune, they associate with it right away and it clicks in their head.
Yeah, and it's usually like fast movement, slow movement and fast movement. People hate those small, slow movements usually, but these are great and these are short and it forces.
Yeah, and they're also played in weddings, birthdays, and even sometimes funerals. It's just people made this music part of their daily life, really, events.
So that's February 22nd, Sunday, 4 o'clock. Now, another item on our list is Comfortably Classical Part 2.
Yes.
We're moving on to March 8th. What's on the menu for this one?
We are performing the Mendelssohn Italian Symphony that I waited so long to do with the Northbrook Symphony. It's a very demanding symphony, not necessarily technically it is, of course, but musically it's very demanding because it requires a certain kind of lightness. It's really hard to put in words, but it requires. Well, since I'm from Egypt, I use that. There is something about building the pyramids that the ancient Egyptians understood. Yeah. That it got missed, or we don't know right now. There is a way that they dealt with weight that we don't understand because they built. You see all these stones and all these.
How do they move?
How they move is an impossibility. And to get it on the river from Aswan to Cairo on the Nile on a boat.
And line them in such a precise way.
It's an impossibility. So there is definitely something they understood about weight that we don't understand yet. And it is, for me, the Italian Symphony is like that. It has to be like, if you don't understand this concept of lightness, it will drag, it will get heavy, and it will fall exactly like a dead person. Just really hard to put in words, but it requires a level of musicianship that is so aware and such commitment to lightness that I don't think everybody will possess unless they're really determined to do that. So I'm scared of the symphony, but I also like the challenge, and I think the Northbrook Symphony is definitely up to performing it really well.
Yeah, that is my question, because you set the bar extremely high for your musicians. If you have your own vision, how it should be done, the requirements are in the stratosphere somewhere. Will they be able to jump over that bar?
I think so. I mean, I usually don't program anything that I don't think the orchestra is able to do. So I think the orchestra is more than capable of performing this symphony. The challenge for me usually is not how difficult a piece is or to break it apart or how we rehearse it. The challenge for me as a conductor is that I need to get everybody on stage thinking the same way as much as possible.
Unified.
If we do that, everything else is almost effortless. But if we're all approaching things with different perspectives, it can't be. So we have to be able to think the same way, and not in an obedience sense, but with conviction. So everybody's really convinced, yes, that's another way to do it. I don't like it this way. We can do it this way, but that's another good way of doing it. I need to be able to manage to deliver that to the orchestra. So it is not only, oh, this is much better than the other way is not good, because if I am dismissive of something, it might be somebody else's way of doing it. So I have to be careful with that. So I think that is the challenge with something like this. It's demanding the high standard, yes, but also knowing that you're not going to demand something that is impossible. And also, I mean, there are a couple of factors when we talk about a group like the Northbrook Symphony. We have only 5 concerts a season. If you look at Chicago Symphony, for example, they perform every week in the season. So the orchestra plays together more, they go through more repertoire, they align more frequently, so therefore they understand each other more, and also they go through the repertoire more often. So if you pull the Mendelssohn Italian Symphony for Chicago Symphony, it's very likely that they just did it last season.
Exactly.
If not, it would be the season before. If not, it would be 2 years ago. For Northbrook Symphony, I cannot even remember when was the last time the Italian Symphony was done. I actually believe it has not been done for over 20 years. Wow. So that's a challenge, because in 3 rehearsals, I've got to get that
the dynamics
in place, because the audience come, they don't care. I mean, they go to Chicago Symphony, they hear excellent Italian Symphony.
We expect the same from you.
Exactly. So you come to me, and it's my responsibility no matter what. So that's part of being a conductor, is to understand, are you driving a Rolls Royce or a Fiat? And if you're driving a Fiat, it's a really good car, but you have to understand the car so you get the maximum out of it. And I'm not suggesting that the Northbrook is any less good or anything. I'm just saying it's a different structure altogether, a different mechanism of how the group is put together, and that affects the process for sure.
Right, perfect. I want to ask you about Mendelssohn himself, because we all talk about these 4 great Bs. Mendelssohn, it's one of my favorite composers. People say that he didn't suffer in his life. He was happily married, but his life ended too early.
It's not much about the suffering. I mean, everybody suffers in their life to some extent, no matter what, even internally. But how much and when and all of that can be different. But the point I think about Mendelssohn is, Mendelssohn created a lot of beautiful music. Tunes you could stay in your head, his choral music, he did the symphonies, the chamber music, some of the best.
Every other wedding he's performed with.
Of course, the wedding march. But Mendelssohn himself, in terms of the development of tonality, did not really add anything
groundbreaking.
Like Beethoven did, or like Brahms did, or like Mahler did. So if Mendelssohn did not exist, we would greatly miss his tone, his tunes, his pieces, the repertoire that he added, great pieces like the Mendelssohn, the octet, the string octet. This is one of the pieces. I don't know, there was the before and after for sure. But in terms of the development of tonality and the human thinking that is reflected in the development of tonality, he did not really, believe it or not, he did not add much to that. But he made a beautiful use of the tools that he had at the time. Definitely a genius, but just not in a progressive sense. That's the thing about him. But if you tell me I like Mendelssohn, I love Mendelssohn. And I would program him and play his music any day, anytime.
Yeah, as much as possible.
But intellectually speaking, it was not something that took music to another level.
But the Italian Symphony is not the only piece that's going to be performed. There's also going to be, again, one of my all-time favorite pieces, Mozart Horn Concerto number 4.
Yeah, this is actually with our my very dear friend, Ben Schneider. He is a horn player from England. He lives all over the world now. I don't know if he still lives in England, but I believe he does. We played together under Barenboim with the West Eastern Divan Orchestra, and Ben has been principal for years in the orchestra. Now he has his own solo career. And he was coming to California to perform with, I believe it's Camerata, I don't remember the group, but a group in California, and we joined forces to bring him here and introduce him.
Yeah.
You know, in our concert, and we have been trying for a couple of years, and then the opportunity came that he would come and perform with us, so that was very nice.
Yeah, Mozart wrote 4 horn concertos. This is the most advanced. I think the best.
The best out of the 4.
Yeah.
I think so. I love all 4 of them, but that one is the most sophisticated. It's also one really good thing about it, that it's not too long. So it's really easy on the ear for listeners, people who are newly introduced to classical music. And I like that because every concert, no matter what, there will be somebody new.
For sure, yes.
When you give them small doses of something,
they're going to appreciate it.
They appreciate it, and they're left wanting more. But there is a practical reason also for this, is that the horn, by the nature of the instrument, you cannot keep playing for too long. You burn your chops. So you have the knowledge of the technique of playing and all of this. You cannot write a 45-minute concerto for horn.
I heard it's one of the most difficult brass instruments to play. Is that true?
Absolutely. And it's even sometimes it's part of a woodwind quintet.
Yeah, because of the muted sound. And honestly, this is my favorite brass instrument. Oh, yeah. It's not overwhelmingly loud. It has a unique sound.
Yeah, very warm sound and very difficult to control. And good French horn player is a very special musician. Awesome. Always, yeah.
And we're going to have that.
Yes.
Very good French horn player on March 8th. Comfortably classical. 2 really awesome pieces that will be performed on March 8th. So the final piece, Romantic Essentials. Brahms and Beethoven. Which one do you want to start with?
Both are equally good. I mean, we can talk about our soloist. This is Josh Brown, who has performed with the Northbrook Symphony under my predecessor, Larry Rabchak. Brought him and his sister. They performed each alone and together with the orchestra. They're very talented since they were kids. Josh now just won, I believe he won the Avery Fisher Prize. And his career is really going. This concert, I should say also that it's in collaboration with the North Shore Chamber Music Festival with Vadim Bluesman. And Josh was Vadim's recommendation. He told me, I just heard him play. You've got to. So he's playing in their festival next year, and he's also playing with us at the same time.
So he will perform the violin concerto in D.
Yes.
Of Brahms.
Of Brahms, yes. And I just heard Josh playing one of the Isai sonatas in the Stradivari birthday celebration, Stradivari Society. And I was really astounded by his... since he was a child, it was really impressive, not just his technique and musicianship and all this, but his commitment to excellence. And the fact that he has the tools to stick to this or to execute this commitment in a way that is always just really a serious musician and very unique talent, and very hard-working violinist.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And we're gonna close with one of the staples, with Eroica.
Eroica, yes.
Beethoven's 3rd Symphony. Which one is your favorite, Mina? Out of the 9.
I can't say there is one that is favorite, but like we were talking earlier, there are moments of every symphony that just, and each of them is like a different.
Everyone is different.
Different person, right? Like you just like different people for different reasons. But the uniqueness of the Eroica, there are several things. The theme and variation in the last movement, of course, that's massive theme and variation movement. There is also the Scherzo that's in the 3rd movement, which was a recent transition from minuets. You know,
that was his invention.
Yes, and it was his own way of transforming the minuet and putting
he transformed the symphony as a form in a number of times.
Yes, he followed Haydn's
principles.
I wouldn't say principle, but footsteps maybe on what Haydn did to the string quartet. Even though Mozart and Beethoven did contribute, but Haydn with the string quartet, Haydn did a lot, and there's just we can talk about this for hours. But what Beethoven did to symphonies and to the structure of a symphony, symphonies as a whole, and within each movement, like what the movements are, like the scherzo, Minuet became a scherzo, and then after that, what he did inside each movement, and then what he did inside the harmony of each part of each movement. You know, it just was really fire gushing all over from his fiery mind. And one very particular thing that gets to me every time I perform or hear this symphony is the ending of the first movement, where usually the climax in the middle of the movement, and then things come. Then you go back to the home key and it's over, which Beethoven does. But then at the coda of the last movement, it becomes this whole thing that keeps developing. It's like as if there is another development section in the symphony toward the end. And then when he hits the highest, most intense note, that's when the symphony ends. So it's one of these movements that really ends. And it's not, in
a mild state of shock.
Yes, it's a shock, but it's not that you feel like you want to clap. You feel like you want to get up and jump, really, because it took you on a trip. Usually, most symphonies, they bring you back home, which is called, they call it the home key. You know, so you get lost and you search for the tonality, and then you go to D major and then F minor, and then
you go back.
You go back home. In the case of the Eroica, yes, you go back home, but the coming back home is heroic. And that's part of, you know, the story that he dedicated.
It's a story of a hero.
Yes, right? He dedicated this symphony to Napoleon. He was very admiring. And then when he declared himself an emperor, he tore the dedication out. But it was definitely the returning to the home key in a really, really strong way. And this is how Beethoven's brain worked. But I feel like I am being not just to the piece, just making such a simple analogy or connection between what was in his mind and how the music was, because the best way to understand it is to actually listen. And understand what happened toward that end, where the whole symphony is going, you know, to a massive ending, the whole movement.
This is really a groundbreaking piece. We have a funeral march. In the second movement. That's also never been done before.
Yes. Well, I mean, he was not afraid of anything. And I know that from what I read from Beethoven's biography, that he was working in the Fourth Symphony while the Eroica was not done yet. So he was already going on, and he knew this piece has to be... that's why some people think, oh, the Fourth Symphony is a step back from there. But no, it's not. Because the Eroica was, I believe, finished after the Fourth Symphony was written. So in a way, I would have to double check the dates exactly to make sure my statement is correct. But I know that the Fourth Symphony, he knew was not a trademark. It was a trademark, of course, like all of them, but in a different way. But the Eroica really, in the sense that we're talking about, and what happened with the tonality and where the form goes and what's being done with it in terms of reflection of the human thinking, the Eroica is a much deeper piece to listen to and to study and to understand. It's just for people important that we make a difference between entertainment and art, because art is not. It can be entertainment,
but it's not always.
It's not always, and the art is basically is a showing of the development of the human thinking. The only thing that humans can do that animals can't is the artistic endeavor. So some animals can even speak, and some animals can think. Yes, they don't think as advanced as we do, but I've never seen, I remember there was something being talked about, an elephant painting pictures. I don't know if that's a hoax, but it's the only one instance in life I've heard of
that an animal was creating something,
and you probably never know. Yeah, but humans are really able to put their thoughts in it. And when we say music, we talk about the art of thinking and sound, according to what Barenboim says. And we're also, when we talk about music, we're not talking about music, we're talking about our reaction to music. So somebody basically put a thought out, I am listening, absorbing, and I'm making the connection between my inner experience, whether it's subjective, objective, whatever it is, to the sounds I heard. That's why sometimes you hear you hear the Four Seasons, for example, the winter from the Four Seasons, you cry.
Yeah.
Another time, you laugh. That's why the same piece
That's
is...
the power of music. With no words whatsoever, you can make people cry and laugh.
Yeah, and that's why this piece sometimes is performed in funerals, performed in weddings. So the piece is not sad or happy. It's how you react to it that makes it what it is. Yeah. So that's really the real power of music, and the real power of somebody like Beethoven, who's able to get to the deeper sense of sound and what it represents in terms of thinking, not just in terms of beautiful sound.
Yeah. And the third in Heroic is full of, again, tunes that we all know, that will sound super familiar. Yes, I heard it somewhere. Yes. Because this is ingenious piece of music.
And you know what is so interesting about it is that the orchestra, it sounds like a massive orchestra. It's actually only horns. There are no three horns. There are no trombones or tuba or any big percussion section, nothing, just the strings, the woodwinds, three horns, trumpets, and the timpani.
Wow.
Just the traditional classical size orchestra, not even four horns, three horns. So to create that massive sound or that massive creation with a traditional, it means that how do I say it? The innovation is in the thought, is not in the tools.
Yeah, yeah.
So definitely something remarkable about Beethoven always.
Perfect. So we covered the entire season, and there are some pieces of music that everybody knows, and some pieces of music that many people will hear for the first time.
Yeah.
From the perspective of a director, would you rather conduct something that people never heard before, or something that they already know? Because I think it's totally different.
Different, yeah. I'll tell you what my thinking is. I think that you have to know your audience. I know that Northbrook Symphony audience are music lovers. They come to hear a lot of the pieces they love. Yeah. And they understand that hearing it live performed is different. They all have recordings, I'm sure. Everybody has recordings. But since they're coming to the orchestra, they want to hear these pieces performed. And in a sense, the orchestra is not like a museum. We're not presenting old pieces from the past. No, we're presenting our new lifestyle merged with these ideas that were written in the past and how that changed these pieces. So yes, the old music, or what we call like traditional pieces, they're from the past, but they belong to us now because it's being performed now with our new brains, our new instruments. That's one thing. On the other hand, when I introduce contemporary music and pieces that have not been heard before, these are two different things, of course. Pieces have not been heard before are maybe something written in the 18th century but not performed much. We do that every once in a while when something has a real value. But he was a really champion of that. Was my predecessor, Larry Rabchak, brought a lot of pieces to the light. It was amazing. We have a big archive of these pieces. But contemporary music is also important because it shows us where music is today.
The direction
and the direction of music is going. But I also think it's important to present that in acceptable doses so that we don't overwhelm, because most of the pieces that are being performed, no matter you like it or not, it's an experimental phase. So you don't want to experiment, or I usually don't like to experiment on the audience too much. I will do a 5-minute piece, a 10-minute piece, or a suite of movements that has an idea. I have to be careful of the dose of music that I give the audience, and also knowing what they expect when they come to hear the Northbrook Symphony. So again, that's a responsibility of mine, but I am also responsible, of course, introducing the new ideas and the new contemporary pieces. And I work with a number of great composers like Michael Dorzinski and Thomas Nickel, and these are living composers who I work with, definitely. And I like working with, when I work with composers, my relationship with Michael Dorzinski, I believe it's since 2011, I believe, or 10. We have been together all this time. And Thomas, my relationship with them since 2016. I think a meaningful result at the end comes after years of collaboration, understanding each other. They know the orchestra they're writing for. They know me. I know them. So it's not like, oh, we're commissioning, here's the competition and the winner, we're commissioning a piece. You could do that, of course.
Yeah, thank you for the score, goodbye. No, it's not like that.
Yeah, it's you're also being part of the composer's development. And one day, that's the way to hit that thing that changes the way of thinking in music.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's refreshing for me to hear as a member of the audience that you put the audience interest at the very top of your project.
Absolutely. I mean, it's of course I put the musicians also, but we cannot forget about the audience. And I cannot, the audience, they just don't understand it. Well, good. Well, then I'm gonna play for myself.
Exactly.
You know, the audience is part of the experience. I have to tell you, as a performer, when I play or when I conduct, the house that is full behind me is totally different performance. I perform differently, and the orchestra performs differently than
the energy level is totally different.
It's totally different. It's a different performance.
And the energy goes both ways.
Both ways. It's different. I remember when we did Violins of Hope, we sold out. It was a full house, basically. It was New World Symphony. You could tell this is not the same as just, a concert with a few people there.
Awesome. Mina, I have to ask you about the Oistrakh and the Paul. I know that there is one concert coming up pretty soon. What is going to be?
Well, Oistrakh will perform at the Paul November 21st, I believe 8 p.m. We're doing 2 concerti. We're doing Delius piano concerto, the older version of it, with Thomas Nickel as the soloist. Delius has not been performed much, so this is one of the things I take more chance with Oistrakh because we perform in the university. So it's a beautiful piece of music, but unfortunately not being played often. So we are very happy we're performing that. And then going back to Mendelssohn, we're doing the Violin Concerto with a very talented young Chicago musician that I was introduced to, is very talented. So I think it will be a great, great concert.
Mina, thank you so much. Of course. We covered everything else. I'm so much looking forward to this season. Every single season of the Northbrook Symphony Orchestra is wonderful. This one's going to be, again, right there at the very top. So thank you so much. And I very much invite you, ladies and gentlemen, to attend as many concerts of Northbrook Symphony Orchestra as possible. You have the website over here, and links and descriptions of all the concerts up top in the description of this interview. The man, the myth, the legend, Mina Zikri. Mina, thank you so much.
Of course, thank you, Lucas. It's always a pleasure to be with you and to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you.